I got on the phone live to go live, which is not charged. So I don't know how long I'll be on here, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll wait for some of you guys to get in. Happy Sunday, everybody. Uh, how is everyone doing today? It was an all right week. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I went to church, to the same church I went to last week. So today will be my second time at the church. And I don't know. It's just like how I feel when I watch TD Jakes, right? I don't know if I want to be ministered to differently. I don't know how much I like a Baptist church or a black church. I don't know. I want to be. Hi, Janet. My name is. Uh, how are you doing today, Janet? What's going on with you, love? How's Sunday treating you? So yeah, as I was saying, I don't know how. And let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Put a one in the chat. I have this microphone thing going on, so I don't know. Thanks for tuning in. Let me write my little sticky. Not doing too bad. Not doing too bad at all. At all. It's a beautiful day as always. I got a lot done today. Hey, Aaliyah, that girl. How are you doing today, huh? So, as I was saying, everybody, thanks for hitting the like button when you come in. I appreciate that. I don't know how much I like going to church. Even when you're doing okay, Aaliyah? Alea. I'm sorry. I think that's Alea, right, boo? I I didn't like church when I was a kid. I can't say I like Sunday school. I like vacation Bible school. I did like that in the summer. That was fun. We got cookies and we got juice. And we colored and all of that. But like being in the sanctuary with the adults, I didn't like that. I always loved gospel music. I love to hear the choir sing. I love that part of church. I always loved the choirs. And but I never really understood what was going on. I was a kid, so I probably needed to be in Sunday school, or I probably need. Yes, I've been to the beach plenty of times, Alea. I just went to the beach not too long ago. I need to go again. Actually, I need to go a lot more this summer. Summer's over in 2 months, so I want to go for sure. This month coming, I'm gonna go. I wanted to stay at the beach for a couple of days and just chill. Um, I keep saying I'm gonna do it. I keep saying I was gonna do it, but for sure next month. But yes, I've always liked going to church. The ideal of going to church, right? I've always liked the ideal, but once I get there, I don't know. I feel like it's a big sham. Does anybody else feel like that about church? Do you feel like going to church is like a big scam? And I'm a tither. I always donate. I always give money. It's not that. I feel like it's not genuine. I feel like it's a big dog and pony show. And then at the end or somewhere in between, they start asking for money. I feel like it's just pimping Jesus. And maybe it's the churches I've been to. I don't feel like it's legit. I don't feel like it's real. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Do you guys go to church? How do you feel about church these days? And I will say, like I said, it's not even just going to church. Like when I listen to TD Jakes and he gets to hollering and all that different stuff. I'm like, what's going on with that? Hey, MMG. I mean, hey, I'm always doing that. That is so, like, I'm not going to say what it is, but every time I see somebody's name say, hey, MMG, instead of saying their name, I say, hey, MMG. Have you guys noticed I do that? Yeah, I'm like real slow with that. But hey, Ryan, how are you doing today, bro? But Ryan, I was saying, Ryan, do you go to church? If you go to church, put a one in the chat for me because I want to get down to the bottom of this. I'm going to ask you guys something. Church is all about money these days. Don't like it anymore. Too commercial. That you know what? And Ryan, I resisted that for so long. That feeling, that notion. But I read the Bible every day. I talk to God every day, and I know that when you're close to God, when you read the Word, God gives you the spirit of discernment. And I know I'm not just feeling that way. I know that I'm not just feeling that way. I know that it's not just me thinking, oh, this is a money grab. I'm going to donate money anyway. Hey, Enoch Evans, welcome back. Can't forget you, Enoch. I'm going to ask you that question too, Enoch. What do you feel about church? Janet, how do you feel about church? I want you guys to really participate, guys, and let me know how you feel about church. It's been a while. You know, it had been a while for me too, Enoch. The last time I was at church was last summer, and my girls bought into it. We really liked the church. It was like different for us. It was kind of a Pentecostal church. These days I get invited to churches and I try to go when I'm invited. But when I go, I never feel welcome. I never feel at home. People seem standoffish. It's like, I don't know if it was me and it's my church home or whatever. Like the woman who invited me, she was very welcoming. She wanted me to come sit by her, but she's like the mother of the church. And I'm like, you know, they have a certain area where the mothers of the church sit. So, and then after church, I've never heard of this before. And let me know in the comments if you ever saw this. I thought after church, everybody was supposed to talk and congregate and everybody's talking. And last week when I went up to the woman who invited me to church just to speak, because I got to church late and I was sitting in the back. So, you know, when I paid my tithes or whatever, I saw her in the front and I said hi. She said hi. So at the end, I just wanted to say hi. You know, I text you to let you know I was coming. And she's like, oh, I didn't get your message. She's an older lady, so who knows? And then she was like, I was already leaving. I wasn't going to sit there forever. I didn't know the other people, and it was kind of awkward. So I said hi to her. I told her I would call her. I lied right in church because I never did call that lady. I need to call her. I don't like to lie or say I'm going to do something. I don't do it. So I went and I was on my way out the door, but I could hear somebody on the speaker, on the microphone or whatever, saying, oh, can you guys please disperse from the sanctuary because we want to keep the sanctuary holy. I never heard anybody say leave the church. Like go outside with your conversations. I've never seen nobody say that. I've never heard anybody say that you couldn't, you know, congregate. That's the whole point. Congregation. And it's hot outside. But anyway, let me know if I'm off base, is that the norm? I stopped going, but I have a great relationship with Jesus and God. I read my Bible every day. I'm in 2 Corinthians chapter 8 now. Did you start from Genesis, Ryan? And now you're on 2 Corinthians. I love Paul. I love Corinthians. I think I was taught go eat popcorn, like Galatians, Ephesians. I love all those. Like I could read those every day, but I try to read other books in the Bible so that I'm well versed, but I could stay on those. I stay prayed up, asking God to renew my mind daily and ask him to fill my heart with love, peace, and joy. I know that's right, Ryan. Me too. I often fall flat, but every day I wake up with that focus and goal in mind. Church is needed because you learn from some same like-minded people. I feel if they really love the Lord, they will show you love and make you at home. Now, church is a business. It's all about money, right, Enoch? And well, not right, but I agree with that sentiment. Um, I feel like this, Enoch. Money is needed for the church just like any other place, like just like you need money for school. And churches, they get tax deductions, or they don't pay taxes, but they don't get any federal funding or anything like that. Like a church is ran based on, sometimes they can get, like, if they do certain outreach, like if they feed the homeless, they can get some type of funding, I think. I'm not sure how that works, but um I know this, a lot of churches, especially smaller black churches, they don't get a lot of money from their parishioners. So sometimes the pastor still has to work. And the pastor's job should just be to pastor the church, to do weddings, to do funerals, to go see sick people, to counsel couples, and to make sure that the church is being ran smoothly, to uh, get his sermon ready for the week. And that should be his job. And he should get a salary for his job so that he can pay his bills and things like that, right? In big churches, that's what happens. The pastor has a salary, and he might have a home paid for by the church so that he can focus on nothing but the church. I feel like is how it should be. Like, I don't feel that a pastor should be poor and destitute. He should be well taken care of by the church. Now, should he take all the money, all the church's money, and misuse it and misappropriate it? No, absolutely not. And that's why the church should have board members that delegate where the money is going to and how the money is being spent, and they can delegate if the pastor remains the pastor and all of that. But as it stands, most churches, the pastors are paying out of pocket because the parishioners don't tithe enough. So I do believe in tithing. However, I don't believe that the service should be about the tithes. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And yes, church is needed to learn from same like-minded people. Today I did feel like a steering was going on, but I don't know if I was just feeling too jaded, and feeling if I was allowing my head, if I was allowing too much to, if I was in my head too much to let it happen. I've been at a church before where I didn't feel like the pastor was like that. He was available to minister to me. He was available to his members. If that church had a picnic, you didn't have to buy anything. You didn't have to donate anything. That pastor made sure everything was paid for. If they were having a giveaway, they weren't asking for money. That pastor made sure his members had everything they needed. And he wasn't up there begging for money on Sundays. Of course, they did the tithes and offering, but he would, you felt like you were at church, like you were there to be prayed for and to be blessed. I don't know. I guess we should respect those pastors that do that, because not every church does that. Let me see. Oh, Evans to commercial for who is Evans? Evans. Tony Evans. How can you become a member of my channel? I'm not monetized yet, but if you guys want to support the channel, you can support it by donating to $ Mommy Money Getter on Cash App. This is my Cash App. Hopefully, I'll be getting monetized very soon. That is that's my Cash App right there. If you guys ever want to donate to the Cash App, I appreciate it. Hey, Ann, how are you doing, boo? Most of them have favoritism in the church members, and oh no, that's okay. I didn't correct you because I don't know. At first, I didn't have my name on here. Then I had my name on here. Then I decided I didn't want my name on here. So whoever knew my name is fine for them to say it. I don't have anything, any opposition towards that. But um, I don't know. I guess I just wanted a little bit more autonomy, not autonomy, or I didn't want to be anonymous, but I just didn't, because you just never know what people would do with your information. So I was like, maybe I don't want my name on here. And then I have Mommy Money Getter anyway. And then people started calling me MMG. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's what I'll just do. But I don't have a problem with you calling me my name. But my name is Charity Janet. um, and I haven't been at that church long enough to know if it's about favoritism or not. I just felt when I was at church today, I was just going inside my mind like, okay, is this you with the roadblock, with the barrier? Because I have been reading the Bible. Like it was really difficult for me to go to church today. Like I was trying to think of every excuse, and I was like, no, you need to go. You need to go. And if I have ties, and I'll go to a church, I'll give my tithes to that church if I go to that church. But if I'm not a member of that church, then um, I'll just give an offering, right? But since I don't have a church home right now, then if I have tithes, I'll give it. But today I gave more money again today. And I was like, on one end, I was like, why did you give that money? You can buy blessings. And then on the second hand, I was like, okay, I'm trusting God for different things in this season of my life. So just go ahead and give the money. But then I just didn't like how it was done. Like they had all these envelopes and then they start anointing them with oil. And then they were telling people to put at least 100 in the envelope, And I felt like it was, I don't know, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Oh no, and it's okay. I don't mind you saying my name. It's okay. I'm not tripping over that. Um, Enoch says, right, I understand it's needed, but they preach prosperity instead of preaching to make you feel convicted. Preach and things that matter so that when you leave, it makes you think and want to change. I think it's a catch-22, Enoch, because on the one hand, if they don't talk about paying tithes, then, members really won't pay. Right. Some members will just give that same dollar, or or some members feel like, uh, why should they have to pay tithes? But I think that, you should let members know, you guys, this is a part that, is also part of being a Christian and being a member of the church, or just when you sign new members up. If it's not a member of your church, then they really aren't beholden to tithe into your church. They can tithe whatever, they can give an offering. But as somebody is becoming a member of your church, then they should be schooled on, okay, and given that sermon about it, or that should be a part of your expectations. As a member, you should be here every Sunday. We expect you to contribute by helping out and cleaning up the church, by inviting members to the church. Um, you should be expected to attend all church services, meaning Bible study, Sunday service, and you should be on time. You're a representative of this church. And also, the church has bills. The church, when you give your tithes go to supporting the pastor and his family. Your tithes go to the upkeep of the church, the lights, the gas, the water, all of that. And also your money goes to helping to for charitable causes in the church. But as a member, you will be expected to give 10% of your income. That's what God says. That's being obedient to God, and that's also being a valued member of the church. Now, if somebody didn't understand all those bylaws, then I think they shouldn't be a member. Because if you're a member of a club, if you're a member anywhere, you're going to be expected to go by the rules, and you're going to be expected to pay a membership fee. So I know that some people are having it hard, but tithes don't go according to if you're having it hard or not. Tithes are just giving God your first fruits. Just like a lot of times I kind of find it difficult to wake up in the morning and get right to praying. So I think I'm probably at 50-50. I might be 50-50 now. First, I was like 30-70. Now I'm getting at 50-50. But I want to get to the point as soon as I open my eyes, thank you, Jesus, grab my Bible and start praying and reading the word. That's the first part of my day. So I give God the first part of my day, and I'm working on being diligent about giving him the first part of my money. And it says, I apologize. Oh no. And Jenna said, I always give an offering, but then they beg. It's a turn off for me. I agree. And says some of them get very upset when you don't give money sometimes if you don't have it right. Um, like some of them want you to go, and some of them ask for your tax return. Some of them will ask for your pay stubs. I went to a church before years ago. I stopped going to that church for a lot of reasons, but they wanted to see your pay stub so that they could show you how much you should pay. Excuse you? You don't need to know how much my pay stub is. Like you doing too much. God knows. And if I don't do what's right, he gonna punish me. I don't need you all in my business. That was weird to me. I don't know, but I stopped going to that church because that church was too much in your business. I felt like it was a cult. That was years ago. I got baptized at that church and everything. And then one of the members told me, well, sometimes they accuse us of being a cult. Why did she tell me that? If you know me, you tell me something like that, then I'm going to go investigate. And when I investigated and found out that people were saying that the church was a cult, honey, I must have stopped going to that church so fast. I should have investigated before, but I didn't know. I didn't know that, it seemed like a good church. Honestly, they had a lot of good qualities. As soon as I got in the church, uh, they put me with a woman because I was single at the time. They put me with a single woman. If you were married, you studied with married women. If you were single, you studied with single women. So immediately they put me with a single woman to do Bible studies with her. Um, they put me through a whole course where I met with women. They would have lunch. They would invite me to different things. They always had something going on. And churches are not like that, right? This church was very much like this. If you are part of our church, then you are part of our family. Like we do everything as a church family. Um, we don't date outside the church. If I braid hair, I used to braid hair, so all the church members were asking me to braid their hair. Um, they didn't really want you to if you go bowling, you're gonna go bowling. You're gonna get invited by other single women in the church. Let's go bowling, things like that. And I like that. I really liked it. The only thing I didn't like was that they were going on a retreat, and they wanted every member on that retreat. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know y'all well enough to be going nowhere with y'all. Like I'm thinking, this feels Jim Jones's, right? Like I'm not going on a retreat with you people. I don't know you like that. And then if you didn't want to go, or if like one of the ladies whose hair I did, she was married, her husband didn't go to church, but her husband didn't stop her from going to church. She went to church on her own, but she was married, and her husband, wasn't okay with her going off and taking the kids. So they had a big meeting so that they could do a like basically a sermon to the people who weren't gonna go. And I just felt like, wait a minute, like why am I being reprimanded? I said I ain't going. I don't care who's going. So yeah, like I said, I went to that church that whole summer, got baptized. My whole family saw me get baptized. And like 2, 3 weeks later, I stopped going. That was crazy. I stopped going. Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. I got on the internet and I started reading all this different stuff about the church, and I was like, no. But if I hadn't heard about that, and if they hadn't been trying to convince me to ask to why I should go somewhere I didn't feel comfortable going, like they really wanted everybody there. I guess it was kind of immature of me, but no, I was single. If I had a husband or something and he was bringing a gat with him and stuff like that, then maybe we could have went. But no, because where are you? Why you want me to go so bad? Why do you want me to go so bad? Yeah, sometimes you don't have an offering to give, and yeah, I think as long as you're paying your tithes, offerings are extra, and you can. I feel like if you go to a church and you are a member, your tithe should go to that church. But if you are not a member, you can give an offering to that church, right? You can give $20 when you go, whatever you have on you. You know, if you went there and you got a message from it, give $10, $15. Give a 20 if you have it. If you don't have it, give a 5. If all you have is $1, give $1. If you don't have anything but in your pockets, God understands. But the majority of us have something. I mean, we'll spend that on Starbucks or something. And this is not being preachy. This is just, I just believe in tithing. Just like I believe in praising God, just like I believe in going to church. I just don't like the churches that I've been to. I know that there's a church for me, and I'm trying to give this one a chance because, like, with anything, if I don't like it, I'm out of there. Some people can give what they ask for, and some people can only give what they can, which is some people's last. Does that make them any less of a member than the one that gives more? Absolutely not, Enoch. But like I was saying, 10%. If you only have $1, then 10% is 10 cents. If you work at McDonald's, right, it's going to be a lot harder if you only got $500 for 2 weeks worth of work, and you don't even know how you're going to feed yourself, right? But tithing is an act of faith, and it's an act of obedience, because I know a lot of people who have said, listen, if I'm a tither because I haven't always had it, but I've always been good, right? I've always been straight. And I haven't always been a tither, but I've always been a giver. I don't always get the 10%, but if I have a lot of money, then I'm going to try to do something for somebody, or I'm going to try to donate. I'll send something to Joyce Myers. I'll send something to Project Angel Food. I'll send something to, like right now, I'm not a member, but if I were to get money right now, I'm going to probably divvy it up. Sometimes I like to donate to different people's GoFundMe. It for me is just a way to be charitable, because I used to think, well, tithes, and some people feel like this. Let me know in the chat. Is tithing to a church, or is tithing to a charity? Like, can you give your tithes to a charity and it be the same thing? Like, if you had $1,000 to give, and you decided, okay, I'm not a member of a church, I would like to donate this money to this cause or that cause. Do you feel like that's the same thing? Ann says, I have a personal relationship with him, but I go online, lie to my church. I praise and serve God at home. I have a personal relationship with him, but I go online. Okay. Um, like, especially during the pandemic when we couldn't go to church, I was online like every Sunday. And um, when I stopped attending that church, that's the last church I was a member of. When I stopped attending that church, I would watch TD Jakes. I would watch whatever, because during that time I was mostly going through a lot of anxiety, and I needed to hear the word. But I found that listening to gospel music was a lot more effective than me going to church. And then as I began to make decisions on my own and not look to my therapist or friends or family, when I started trusting myself, reading the word more, I became more confident to trust God and to trust myself. The more I trusted God, the more I trusted myself. And the more I began to do that, the more I became less anxious. So I definitely trust God, and I definitely trust my decision making. So I'm like, okay, I don't just want to be somewhere just for the sake of going. I want to be somewhere where my spirit is fed, where
Not that people have to bend over to welcome me, but yes, bend over to welcome me. You want me to join your church? I'm a tithe paying member. You want me to be here? You want me to feel welcome? Then you should show that. But I think, and to continue on with what your comment was, I think that if you're sick or if some people they don't have, I think it's great that churches are now having online church. Um, I know the church my mother went to, her pastor wasn't really tech savvy, so she missed out on the opportunity to have church online. And she still conducted church. I think like 4 or 5 members got COVID too. Um, Around that time, a lot of them were getting sick because they were still going in to church every Sunday. And I used to tell my mom, I don't think that's very responsible for your pastor to have church because this is at the height of COVID. We didn't know what it was looking like. All we knew was that people were leaving here left and right. And I'm like, this is why you have to stay ahead of the curve. Like, if you're a content creator, this is a message for you too. Like, just because you're not monetized today, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't move as if you are. You don't know which piece of content is going to hit. You don't know what this world could become a day from now, a week from now. And if you're not in position, you're going to miss out. A lot of people made a lot of money during the pandemic because they were in position. They already had clothing that they were selling online. They were already doing selling meals online. So when people was like, "Look, who got food for sale? Who has clothes for sale?" These people already had their businesses online. And when the churches who already had their multimedia set up, who already had the speakers up, who already had all of the internet stuff going up, you guys know what it is. They were able to keep on going. They already had their Zelle payment set up. They already had Cash App, so you could pay like that. And you could watch from home. And the pastor and his wife from the church I was going to, they would do the sermon online. They even had the choir come in. Nobody could go into the sanctuary at that time. But then a couple of times they even had church outside. And they did like social distancing outside. So this church was ready for that. And I definitely think that all churches in today's landscape should have online church services available because people are sick. You have older members who can't get out in this heat right now. Um, you have people who may be traveling, who may be somewhere else. And even though they're on vacation, they may still want to tune in on that Sunday morning and get their word. Or they may be in a hospital bed and they still want to get that word, right? Or they can be sick at home in bed and they want to get that word. So all churches should have the capability to give online church in 2025. It's just a given, and that's again that goes back to the tithe. It takes money to get that equipment set up and to have somebody come in and record the services and set it up to where it's being streamed online. Like that's another thing. Like if you're a church, you should be streaming because you should have your YouTube streams going. You should have your YouTube, your Facebook, all of that. You should be getting. That's another way that you can get money and get donations, right? I don't know. But and if you can make it to church, go to church because it's just a different, especially if you're a member of that church and um, that's the church that you're going to attend. I think it really behooves you to go to church because you get that corporate worship. You get to it's a different feeling as Enoch was saying. It's just altogether different being there um, in the midst of it all. Remember when the widow gave 2 coins? It was just as important as the money that other people gave because it was all she had. Absolutely. Um, right. And I think it was another woman who took the oil and washed Jesus' feet. Where they was like, wait, wait, what are you doing? Because I guess back then olive oil, it takes a long time to make it. So I imagine back then that what you had to go through to get olive oil, right? So it probably was really precious back then, but she used it to wash Jesus's feet with, right? and to get him prepared for what he had next. And he really was honored by that. So there's all kinds of ways you can contribute to a church. I feel too, like if you don't have that money to donate to the church, you could come clean the church up. You could come ahead of time, say, you know what, Pastor, can I clean up at the church? Can I help, you know, by cleaning up the church? What can I help with? Perhaps you can sing really well, and you want to start a choir. You know, you want to be there to um, have the choir practice. You know, I think all those positions as well. That's why we need to tithe according to how we are blessed, because the organist is supposed to get money. He's supposed to get paid. There's certain positions in the church that are supposed to get paid, and they're not getting paid because the church doesn't have it in their budget. I feel like donating your time should also be seen as a tithe, right? If you're donating to the church, if you're volunteering, maybe you don't have the money, but you can be there during the food drive, or you can be there to help evangelize on the weekends and to go out and get other members. I think if I'm collecting members for the church and I'm getting more people to attend who are paying tithes, I think that's just as valuable as if I gave my little $20, $30. I'm getting people in here. So I think that everybody has value in the church, and it doesn't all look the same, Enoch. It doesn't. I understand. I was in a church like that. The lady who helped me was an older woman, a single woman. I had to spend the night with her and everything. I stopped going because we couldn't talk to the married. Okay. You know, people in a secular world, they'll feel like that too. Like, well, if you're single, then I don't really want to talk to you if I'm married. And I guess single people do single things. So what do you really have to talk about? But if you were already friends with someone, then I guess you would still be able to have conversations here and there. But as far as, okay, you know, maybe you go out to lunch sometimes, but sometimes single women tend to give advice, you know, to married women that they shouldn't give. Because if I'm married, then, you know, you shouldn't really be speaking on my marriage unless, of course, you know, I was in danger or my kids was in danger. But, you know, it's not okay to tell a married woman what she should do or should not do for her husband, because that's who she's united with, right? So, hi, Trina Ruff. How are you? My 19-year-old asked me that the other day. What did she ask you, Trina? Yeah, they want 10% of that too. But I've heard somebody say before too, like if I'm on welfare and that's being given to me, should I pay 10%? Like if you're on welfare, should you give 10%? And some people say no. That church that I spoke of about, you know, before that I left, if you didn't make a certain amount, like I think I may have been in college at the time, they said I wouldn't have to give a tithe because I was still in college. So it just depends on what church you go to, but I think you should give as much as you feel led to give. If you are working and you know that that's your regular salary, um, and again, some people are not making enough to even pay their bills and feed their families, but tithing should not be based on if you can afford it or not. It's an act of faith because you're trusting God to take care of you. If it was, okay, I got lots of money, I'm a millionaire, what is that to give? What is it for a millionaire or a billionaire to give away? It's nothing for Jeff Bezos to give millions of dollars away. He's not going to miss that. I think tithing is more about you doing something that's going to stretch you a little bit and going to stretch your faith, right? There are a lot of false prophets, so we have to be mindful who we follow exactly. And that's where our discernment and our wisdom comes in. Are we uh, are we cognizant of who we're following? Are we mindful? Are we just following for the sake of following and going to the church just for the sake of going? Or are we really caring about the message that's being sent? how the pastor is conducting themselves. I knew uh, it was a church across the street from my house, and it was a big church, and I never went. And the woman who actually invited me to her church used to go. She said, "Oh, why didn't you ever come to that church?" I was like, "I heard things about it." She was like, "Yeah," then she told me something about it, and I was like, "See, that's why I didn't go, because I heard that the pastor was." And I don't like to talk about pastors, but in this case, um, he left his wife for a church member. So when you see things like that going on, you can be just as blamed as he is, because if you see that going on in that church and that pastor isn't stepping down after doing it, or if he's not held accountable and the church members are still following him, they can be led astray. Like, why would you still go to a church like that? And that's how I feel about real life too. If you're a righteous person, the Bible talks strictly about being righteous and being just. If you're a righteous person, you got to be on the side of right. So you can't just follow anybody just because he says I'm a pastor, just because he's supposed to be the head of a church. That doesn't mean that you follow him blindly. And he could be good at first and then change later on, because he's a man still. And if he does, then you got to revisit your relationship with that church. I looked it up, and this is what it says. While tithing is often associated with supporting a local church, the core principle of tithing is giving back to God and supporting those in need. Exactly. Trina, that's why I was saying that if you're not a member of a church, then offering should suffice, and you should be able to tithe wherever you see fit, whether it be, sometimes I've helped with funerals. I've done that several times. I had money, extra money, or I was going to tithe it to in any way to church, but I wasn't really going. I wasn't a member of a church at that time, so I said, okay, I can take this money that I was going to give to a church, but since this person is being buried and that's a need too, then I'm also doing God's work by assisting in this. Or if I were to see a mother, if I'm in, and many people believe this, and if you don't, let me know in the chat. But many people believe if you're a member of a church, your tithes are your tithes. And in the past, like I would do stuff like this. If I knew a family member needed something, I would give it to them instead of tithing. And I don't feel like you should give your money to a family member, because half of the time they're going to just use it for whatever. They're not going to even really use it for a need. But if you feel like you want to give it to them, that's on you. But really, sometimes you're giving people money to blow on whatever, and you're helping them to rob from God. You're robbing God, and you helping them to do it too, because they're not using that money in a manner that they should. Say, for instance, if they were laid off work, or if they lost their house, or their house burned down, you should give money to worthy causes like that. Obviously, this is my opinion. You can give your money however you see fit. But I don't feel comfortable loaning somebody. If I want to loan you money and you pay it back, or if I want to just give you money, but I don't feel comfortable giving somebody money that I would give to a charity who is not going to use it for a worthy reason. Like, your lights are going to get cut off. I don't want you taking my money buying hair weave, or buying you know, not using it to feed your family or something that's really needed. Not because I don't want to see nobody, I don't want to give somebody something. But if I have money to give like that, and I want to say, here, do something for yourself, that's on me. But if I using this money, tithe money specifically, to give to you for a specific reason, then I would want you to do that. And then I have another question before I get back to the comments. Um, how do you feel about, because some people do this. Like, when I first got off work, I told you guys before that I didn't have any plan B. All I had was my credit cards and some time saved, banked up at work, and a little money saved. So I was okay for a few months. But after that, um, I hear family members talking about they put money in the tithes and taking it to church, but they knew I was struggling. I wasn't getting a paycheck. I had been getting a paycheck all my adult life, and I had no money coming in. And at this time, my children's father had just passed away, so we weren't even getting uh, his social security or anything like that. So we had nothing, and nobody said, "Well, here, let me give you a couple hundred, and or let me give you this." I was gonna tithe it to the church, but let me give it to you. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. Do you think that, whether you're a member or not, do you think that if you see a family member struggling, do you think that you should give the money to them, or do you think you should still give it to the church? Enoch, ask your question, hon. Go ahead. And it says, I have helped a lot of people, so that part of tithing too. Yes, that's tithing, right. Thanks, Trina. She says, I understand totally what you're saying. And it says, at home, I can hear God better with no distractions. You know what? There's something to be said about that. And I just did 6 p.m. online church. I feel more comfortable that way most weeks. Well, I think definitely, I'm going to talk about that too, how I feel about that. Enoch, you say you have a serious question. Go ahead and ask. Hey, Satwinder. I don't know how you keep finding me, but you're here for a reason. Thanks for joining in with us. We're having a very in-depth conversation. Every time you go to watch a stream, because I'm now in your algorithms, Satwinder. I hope you should be following me, and I hope you hit that thumbs up button. Uh, he was like you and wanted to tie to charities or help people as he saw fit. He is uncomfortable giving 10% to the church only. He's like, Mom, we're struggling. 10%. Right. Well, Trina, I'm not a member of a church, so my tithes can go where I want them to go. But I think I think, and I've seen people say this, and I've heard people say this, and I believe your faith can be as small as a mustard seed. I believe that. I read that in the Word, and the Jesus, when he came, he says we have to tithe. So that's why I feel like we should find a worthy church, a church that we feel is being led by God, that's Bible based, so that we are not just giving our tithes to somebody who is not using them for a worthwhile cause. And also, we're not just donating money to the church when we tithe. We're being obedient to God. And I know so many people who were struggling and who were struggling for a while, and they just got miraculously blessed. And that's because they were obedient, even when they didn't have the money. Like for me, for instance, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. Any. Any means no. Any means zero. Meaning I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills. I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose my car. I didn't lose my home. Me and my kids, we were thugging it for a little bit. That's how I started shopping at Dollar Tree. We were buying Dollar Tree cleaning supplies, and I was couponing some and all of that. But um, my content started doing well. I would get 1,000 here. I would get 1,000 there. I would start getting like 5 figures a month doing content creation, and that was God. And I wasn't even a good tither. So I can't tell you what um, I think. I can only tell you what I believe in. I can't give you an opinion on what, because I read the Bible every day, and I know that I'm supposed to tithe 10%, and I can't say anything outside of that. So I know it's hard, and I know for me it was hard. Like even last week, I was like, okay, I'm not a member of this church, but I gave a certain amount of money, and then I even doubled back and gave the same amount of money this time. I'm like, okay, and I felt some type of way about that, but I said, God, I know that let me be doing this for the right reasons, and I know I can't buy your love. I know I can't buy your mercy and grace. Let me do this out of obedience, because last week I got the extra envelope, and I said I would donate this kind of money, help me to just have that cheerful giving spirit and not think twice about it or look for something in return. Um, right, Trina, it is a lot of us barely making it. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to not know. Oh, excuse me, guys. How I'm gonna make it one month to the next. I know what that feels like. I've been there, but that's why I'm Just telling you, I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but if you trust God, not the money, not your circumstances, and you don't understand that how He can stretch it, and you'll be like, wait a minute, where is this money coming from? Where, like, I'm gonna tell you, like, I haven't been to work, and yet I've had a couple of paychecks, direct deposit. I don't know where that money came from. I wasn't calling and asking. I wasn't calling and asking. Like around my daughter's prom time, I was spending money left and right, and I was getting low. And we're sitting at at Cheesecake Factory, and the woman comes. Our tab is like 400 at Cheesecake Factory. I'm like, God help me. And then I look and check my balance to make sure I'm not broke, dead broke. And I got another paycheck from work, and I'm like, okay, Jesus. And then my dad was like, here, he sent me a couple of thousand that month. So see what I mean about just not trusting money and not trusting yourself and what you can do, and just trusting God. I know it's not easy, but if you're a believer, then then you got to just step out on faith. You got to work your faith. Hey Ashley, 601 Ashley 10, how are you doing tonight? We're having a very riveting conversation about church and tithes and all of that. The conversation is getting really good. And Enoch is asking, if you have always given tithes or offerings to your church and one day you need help with your light bill or your rent, do you think they should help, or how do you feel if they don't help you? Um, Enoch, like I was saying earlier, a lot of churches are barely eking by. Um, some churches have a budget to help and assist. Um, they get enough. They're receiving enough tithes from their members where they can pay for their like the Catholic Church is very rich. Look at how much they paid out for for all those lawsuits. Some churches are very rich and they have that money set aside already for those type of causes. But some of them want you to pay it back, or some of them want to see your bills and see all of that. But um, I think that if you have a church that's like that, that has money like that, I think that they should be able to have something going on where they can help their members who are in need, because that's why they are a nonprofit, because they're supposed to be doing charitable causes like that. But if your members aren't tithing, how are you gonna? Where's the money coming from? Because, like I said, some pastors, they have jobs. They go to work Monday through Friday, and they still have to be there for their members. They still have to be there on Sunday with a fresh sermon, and they had to work all week, right? Can you believe some people expect their pastor to come and marry them and not give a and not give them any type of donation or anything? Like, you really had the pastor come, but some pastors have a certain amount. Like, uh, if you want to use their church, you can use their church to get married in, or if you want him to officiate your services, they have a set amount for a wedding. So that's not free. It's not free to get a marriage certificate. It's not free to do any of that. It's not free to bury somebody. Everything costs, but the burial plot, the casket, the everything costs, but people don't want to pay the pastor to officiate over the funeral. And I know it's like, okay, why do I have to pay you? You're a pastor, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if we don't make sure that we tithe, if we don't make sure that we take care of the church and the pastor, then there's not money for charitable causes. People have gotten away from loving own neighbor as you love yourself. So no, they are not gonna make sure you're okay because they feel like it's not their problem. No love for the fellow man and no sympathy. And that's another thing too. If you're a pastor of a church and you see that one of your members, one of your faithful members, that's always tithing, and these pastors know because they get the envelopes with the names on them, and they're counting the money. They know who's doing what. So if you get word that one of the members of your flock has lost their job, then I think it would behoove you to say, We have a member. I don't want to say their name, um, but they, some of you may know if you know, um, but I don't want to put them on Front Street. But I would like to take up a separate collection for them this week. Please give anything extra if you were going to give put it in the offering after you paid your tithes. Give a little bit more. Give as much as you can because they could really use it. Take up a collection for that member, right? Or something like that to help them out. There's something that you could do, and like I said, the church should have a budget where they have a separate allowance out for those type of causes. But yeah, um, and going back to what I was saying about if you have tithes and then you have a family member that is struggling, should you pay your tithes to the church? Um, I say no. And the reason why I said no is because Jesus said, listen, you guys are paying this money to church and your mother and father at home starving. So how can you feel good about saying, okay, I tithe every Saturday, but my family is struggling? And I think I just answered your question right there, Trina. If you and your son don't have it, how can you give to the church? And if Jesus said that, then I don't think he just meant, you know, give your tithes to, and I'm going to look for that scripture right now because I don't want to say it wrong. So I'm looking it up right now. And in Matthew 15, it says Matthew 15:3, 9, or Mark 7, chapter 7, verse 9 through 13. It says, um, let me see if I can go to that. Matthew 15:3, 9. Okay. Jesus replied, and why do you break the command of God for the sake of your tradition? For God said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses their father or mother is to be put to death. But you say that if anyone declares that what might have been used to help their father or mother is devoted to God, they are not to honor their father or mother with it. Thus you nullify the word of God for the sake of your tradition, you hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. So basically, he's saying you're honoring God by paying your tithes, but your parents could use that money. Like if your parents are suffering and you're supposed to honor them, God knows your heart and he knows that you have every intention on giving your tithes to church, but he doesn't want you to not. He doesn't want you to let your parents go starving. And so um, I guess that goes right to you, Trina. And you don't have it a lot of it says. I'm glad you had this topic because I always have some resistance tithing. All my kids were 19, 18 to 16. The girls are okay with tithing to church, but my son wants to tithe to the poor or charities. And I'm not going to lie, we don't have it a lot of times. I'm glad I showed you that with scripture too. Hey, Nisha, I'm glad you caught another live too. Thanks for coming in. We're talking about my experience at church today. I'm glad I went to church because I didn't want to go. And I've had like a lot of bad experiences with churches lately, and I don't think that I'm really giving it my all. I think I'm letting my thoughts in my head get in the way, and I really want to give this church a couple of months because if I keep going, then I'm like, okay, I liked it after all. If I don't keep going, then I'm like, I gave them a good chance. I don't want to just stop going and, at the first sign of I don't like it, right? And I want to tithe because I know that's what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not looking for anything from the church when I tithe. When I tithe, I'm never looking for anything from the church. When I tithe, I'm always looking to be obedient to God. Is my humanness looking for something? Yes, I'm feeling like, okay, if I tithe, God, I know that I'll be okay. I've been okay without tithing, but I'm a giver. I'm always giving, always giving. Not always 10%, but I'm always giving a lot. I've given out thousands of dollars this year, a lot. But I feel like it wasn't always 10%. So um, that's when I feel like if you know to give it, I feel like this, if you know to give it, if you have it to give it, then you should give it. Full stop. It shouldn't be what the church does with it. It shouldn't be if the churches would do it for you. If you don't feel like you're going to a prosperous church, go somewhere else. If you don't feel like you're going to a church with a righteous pastor, you shouldn't be at that church. That doesn't mean you shouldn't tithe. That means you need to keep going to churches and visiting churches until you feel led by the Spirit that that church is your home. You're welcome, Enoch. Thank you, Charity, for this. It is needed to salute to the chat and much love. I'm old and I'm going to bed. Good night, Enoch. Thank you for engaging in the chat. I appreciate you. I hope you come back again soon. The message for today was about commitment, Nisha. Um, like committing yourself to God. Um, and not straddling the fence. Like one of the let me get the scripture. Hold on one second, guys. I don't know if you want to write them down, but here's the scriptures from today. One was Psalm 37:5. One was Proverbs 19:21, Romans 8:38 through 39, and Revelations 3:15 through 19, I believe. And I think that's what, um, let me go to Revelations. I don't like reading Revelations. Revelations is so scary to me. Um, and I feel like I need like a pastor, a Bible-led pastor to read Revelations and tell me about Revelations because I get scary. Like I've had dreams. I've read Revelations and I had dreams. I've had that a couple of times, dreams where God was coming back and oh my gosh, like I've woken up in the middle of the night hearing trumpets sounding. Like that was a long time ago. But it says, I know your deeds that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. So basically, and I had a dream last week about being hot or cold, and it wasn't exactly that. I won't tell the dream, that's between me and God, but God told me in my dream basically this. So this is kind of confirmation to me of how God wants me to be. I like to listen to my ratchet R&B. My ratchet rap, my Pluto, my Glorilla sometimes, and as somebody who is a Christian and a believer who prays every day, that should not be in my repertoire, right? I'm not criticizing anybody who does that, but I'm saying this is a message that the download I got from me, that I can't say God one day, and then listen to, even when you guys don't see me online, if I'm riding down the street, I'm bumping this music. And so I was held accountable for that. So I got to change that. And I'm not saying that it's the easiest thing for me to do, but that's something that I'm working on, being committed to God and changing my ways. Like even yesterday, I went off on my family because I felt like I'll just put it out there that my sister said something to my niece about me that wasn't true. She told a half truth. It wasn't true. And I went ham on her. I went ham on my sister. I went ham on my mom because my mom wasn't really trying to. And as a parent, and my mom's a believer, my mom sends us scriptures out every day. As a parent, even though your children are adults, my sister's in her 50s. I'm almost 50. But I feel like you should be and my mom might be listening to this, that's fine. But I feel like you should intercede and you should direct and guide, and no partiality. Even if you don't like it, you're supposed to always stand on the side of righteousness. With me, with my kids, my older daughter has, and my daughter's in her 30s, and she's gotten upset with me. But if my younger daughter comes to me and said, "Mom, this is what's going on," I'm going to intercede and I'm going to say, "Hey, you should do X, Y, and Z." Or this, you shouldn't do this with your sister. I tell my daughters to support each other all the time, have each other's back, even if you go against me, even if you don't like me. I want you guys to love your sisters because that's very important to me as a mom. That my 5 daughters are there from one another. So anyway, I got very upset, and I hadn't crashed out, and I don't know how long. I hadn't been going off on nobody, but I really went off on her, and I wasn't delighted with myself. I felt bad about that. I really wish I could have just let it go and stood in peace. But at the same time, I felt like, God, I feel like I'm tired of this. I'm tired of people saying things. I'm tired of people mentioning my name when I'm not mentioning theirs. And I feel like, you told a lie. You just made this up. I don't even know why you said that. I don't even know why you're discussing this matter. So, um, I feel I felt a way about that. So that's why I talk about being hot or cold, as a Christian, and that's what the pastor was talking about today about being committed. And as a Christian that's committed, I shouldn't have let, even if it's a lie, even if it hurts me, even if it disrupts my peace, I'm supposed to be humble enough to let God avenge my wrongs, right? I'm supposed to always do that. That's the hard part because my humanness wants to knock your head off or at least give you a good tongue lashing. But as a Christian, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek. That's the hard part. But that's what the pastor was talking about, being lukewarm as a Christian. Like, you can't be hot or cold. You got to be one or the other. If you don't like God, if you don't want to read the Bible, that's fine. At least I know where your heart is. If you all in, then you're all in. But to straddle the fence, and I remember when I was younger, I used to be a fence straddler. And, and I thought I could never give up some of the things that I gave up. I thought I could never stop doing some of the things I do. Cursing is so hard for me not to do, but I think I did pretty good today not cursing. But I love to curse. I love to listen to raunchy rap music and stuff like that. But that's something I gotta get past. I get spooked and I'm always looking at the sky after reading any Revelations scriptures. Yeah, Trina, Revelations is like, you gotta, I feel like you should have somebody explain that to you who is a man of God, who is well versed in the Bible. One thing about TD Jakes, I don't like all that, and I don't like all that, but I feel like TD Jakes explains the Bible really well. Whenever he explains the Bible, I always felt connected to that. So I would love to just sit and hear him discuss the Bible. That's the way I want to be talked to. I want to be instructed and talked to. I don't want to be preached at these days. I think that's for people who are in a deep struggle because some people need that fire and brimstone. But I feel like I'm not a baby Christian anymore. I feel like I could move up a little bit, right? Hey Matthew, Pate, sorry it took me a while to get to you. God has always blessed me in many ways throughout my life. I have always tithed and will always do so. I don't do it because I have to do it because I get to, right? LL Cool J, he had a song and he said, 10% always goes to God first. Um, it was an actor and a producer. I think his daughter, she also had a show. I forget his name, but I read his autobiography when I was probably like 16 or 17. His name was Danny. I can't think of Danny Thomas. I think his daughter is Marlo Thomas, and he talked about um, how he built temples and things like that. I believe I read this book many years ago, but he talked about, and I think he St. Jude's is what he built. Let me see. I think St. Jude's came from Danny Thomas. Yep, it's right here. St. Jude was founded by Danny Thomas in 1962. Praise God for my good memory. His daughter was Marlo Thomas, I believe. She had that show, That Girl. Danny Thomas was old, long time ago. He's no longer living, but he spoke about how he always promised God that if he blessed him, he would build a temple. He would do this with the money, and he was always prosperous as a producer, and he was able to start St. Jude's. But that's how it got started. So a lot of people have had to have that faith, and like I said, it's very hard sometimes when you don't even have food to feed your kids for you to tithe. But if you can find a way to do it, God is gonna just bless you. And like I wasn't obedient over them. God blessed me with thousands of, but he blessed me in every way imaginable last year, even with the cancer diagnosis. That's why I was like, why are you even worried about having surgery? God is going to bless you. You're going to get blessed in so many ways just by trusting him. That's why I'm at church. That's why I'm at church. I owe God my devotion. I really owe him that. I owe him not to let people get me upset and go off on him. I owe him that. Like when I tell you, like, the last 10 years has just been hell. And beginning in 23 is when I finally first start getting relief from the anxiety. I owe God my all. So, but I'm still human, right? But thank you for that, Matthew, for giving us that testimony, because you as well, Nisha. My math is bad with you on the rap too. Yes, I feel convicted about my mouth. I'm loving this. Like, thank you. Yep, St. Jude is his. Marlo takes over. Let me see. Marlo's. Yep. I I when I was a teenager, back then sometimes we might not have cable, but I used to read. I used to read all the time. I didn't read the Bible, but I used to read all the time, and I was a nosy girl, so I loved to read autobiography. Still to this day, I've read so many autobiographies, but his was one that I read. I don't even know why I picked it up. I don't even know what made me read that one, but it was a good read, and a lot of it was just about his devotion to God, and he's a Jewish person, so um, you know, not a Christian. Okay, Marlo took it over now. Is Marlo still living? And I'm glad you guys are liking this live. These things are needed. I get on here and talk about different things, and I get convicted about that too. I get convicted about what I come on here and say, what I come on here and talk about. And um, today I didn't pray over it, and I just was open and honest about how I felt, because I knew that others would probably feel the same way like I feel. Because I know right now we're at a time where people are so in flux about life in general, and people are not trusting church the way they used to. Back in the 60s, 50s, 40s, and the 1800s, all we had was hope, right? And now we've been betrayed a lot by the church, by pastors who were not honest, pastors who didn't do what they were supposed to do. But that should never dictate to us, if we are believers, how we should believe and what we know is right. All that should tell us is that we have to be discerning, and we have to use our wisdom in who we decide to follow, right? And we should attend churches that members can hold their pastor accountable, because there's lots of churches like that. Will you be doing any more Walmart creator videos in the future? That's how I came across your channel, in case you were wondering. Glad to meet a fellow Christian. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome, Matthew. Yes, um, I have my email on my profile. So if you have any questions or you think there's a type of Walmart live you would like me to do or Walmart video, let me know and I'll do it. Um, I just did a Walmart live not too long ago. I think when they were having that big sale and at the first week of July, I did some Walmart creator videos then. But right now, Matthew, the focus, if you're a Walmart creator, should be on back to school content. So I will be focusing on that. Back to school right now is really big. Try to find what's trending and try to not compare. Walmart doesn't really want you comparing with other products, but find a way to get in your bag in that way. And thank you for reminding me because I need to get back in my in my back to school bag. In the next couple weeks, parents are going to be shopping. I have boy content that because I never do boy content. I have girls, but I have some boy content from Walmart boy apparel. So I want to post that up, and I really want to start really concentrating on that this week and next week, and any flash deals that they have as well. Post that, but definitely post about try to find a way to add back to school content, college content. I don't know what type of creator you are, but try to find a way to update your storefronts if it relates to your niche or your or what you have going on, or find those flash deals that you can make an affiliate link because they have flash deals in every department, so you can use that. You're in the Amazon influencer program. Same thing with Amazon influencer. I'm an Amazon influencer as well, but probably the reason why I focus on Walmart more is because I made lots of more money on Walmart. I barely make anything on Amazon to be honest, but and when I do, it's like I don't think I've ever even been paid from Amazon. I think the money is still in my account. I get paid from Amazon for my books though, for my book royalties, and I even got a check a couple of weeks ago from what is it, Audible, for some royalties I have from my books on audio. So I don't know what comes into my account because I have Walmart, I have Facebook, I have a few different ways I get paid from content. It's crazy. I had just finished online church, came to YouTube, and your live was showing. It's definitely what I needed tonight. Yeah, I was in your algorithm, Trina, and I hope you guys are following me or you consider following my page. I try to do adult content that affects us all, and I try to talk about things that every men and women can relate um, to keep you motivated, to keep you thinking. As I stated to Matthew, I have my email in my bio. So if you ever want to reach out and email me about a topic or you want to discuss a topic further, reach out and email me and we can talk about it. Videos on Amazon is where the money is. It's different from associates. You actually make good money there. I don't want to change your topic here. I'll listen out for newer content. Have a good evening. All right, still email me, Matthew, cdarrell at gmail.com. Email me some specific things and and also go into a little bit about what you mean about the Amazon videos. Let me know because it might be something I'm missing out on that I need to get on. So please email me that if you have the time tonight or in the morning. I would appreciate it. Oh, you're following through Entertainment You Love. Yeah, Yo-Yo's my girl. I'm surprised she's not on here tonight, but she's always in my life. So she's like a sister to me now. We're getting very close. She's a very supportive content creator, and a lot of the content creators that I associate with now are very supportive, and I love that they show up in my lives. I'm in their lives. I don't know if you're a content creator. If you are, comment in one of my regular videos so I can go follow you. Because let me see, I might be able to follow you from here. Let me look at because I follow a lot of people. If I see you in my lives all the time and I see you supporting me, they land on Amazon product pages. Here's my email right here. I don't know. I probably need to fix it then. That's my email right there. Um, Let me see, Trina. Let me go to your channel. Okay, now I'm subscribed to you as well. Trina Ruff. It's me, Trine. I like that. It's me, Trine. So I'll be checking you out too. Absolutely, Matthew. That was exactly my thinking. That was exactly my thinking. We could trade information back and forth. Um, that's what we're here for, right? Um, to help each other out. I think that's how this content stuff works best is when you can get with somebody who knows something and that could really assist you, and you can do the same. You can barter back and forth with that information, because guess what? I don't know everything. I know it seems like I do, but I don't. No problem, Trina. No problem at all. I'm getting a lot of you. I'm getting and this is my LA word. I'm getting a gang of content creators over here. So, what I try to do is I try to come on and see who's been commenting on my page. So if you don't comment on my page, then you're gonna get lost in my algorithm, because I go to the people who commented or who's been commenting, or definitely if I see you in a live. If I see you regularly in a live, then I'm coming to your live. Um, but if I don't see you liking and stuff, then I just forget about you unless you just happen to show up, because the people that I support are going to be the ones in my algorithm, right? And that goes the same way for you. If I'm not supporting you, then I'm not going to end up in your algorithm, because you haven't been able to spot me and go ahead and like my stuff. So that's what I try to do. But it's getting to be so many of you guys. Like, I am so behind on going back and commenting, because I have so many comments, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But I want to try to. You from Cali too? From Pasadena? You from Ladina? What's good? I'm not too far from you. I'm originally from South Central. I need to have you come bring me a pastrami from the hat. My mom loves her some hat. The last time I got to you're from Alabama? That's what's up, Matthew. I have some good friends from Alabama, from Mobile, Alabama. Um, the last time I went to the hat was last summer. And I got a pastrami, but my sister got the pastrami chili cheese fries. And those chili cheese fries were off the chain. And I was wishing I would have got that. Now I'm eating clean, but if somebody was to bring me some, if somebody was to come over my house right now with with some pastrami fries from the hat, I'm eating them right now. Yeah. I also like that I pick out there in Pasadena. I also like that promenade out there. We went shopping out there. Pasadena. It's really nice. And then I don't know about the really bad parts. I hear about stuff, but I've never been to the bad parts. I got a lot of family in Vegas too, and that's where guys. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, guys? Put a one in the chat if you can hear me, please. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, cool. I don't really like Vegas. As far as I have siblings down there and a niece down there. My kids like Vegas. I like to visit there. We were out there last summer. It's just too hot. Um, and I hear the school system isn't really. Um, but shoot, I don't know about California either. I don't know why I'm staying here, but I would
probably move to Vegas because I like how I can move about out there. The only thing that will prevent me from moving there is two things. One, um, I feel like I'll do better financially in California, and two, it's too hot, and I have asthma. And last year, my last day there, I think it was 120 on 4th of July. I said, oh no, I did good every day until the 4th of July. And then I was like, oh no, it's pretty grimy in California or Vegas. My younger sister was saying she wanted to move from Vegas. But I know when my family started moving there about the 2010s, they really liked it. Everybody liked it out there, and it was easier to find jobs. It was easier to find housing. But when the pandemic hit, a lot of California transplants went move there, right, and that made things a little bit more difficult. But I think that as far as culturally, you will see a lot more people you'll see a more mixed group of people in Vegas. Like I said, my only thing is I feel like um, I was working here for Los Angeles County, and I'm about to retire. So maybe once I was maybe once I retire and I have that income, my hope is to have my retirement income and to have my creator income and be able to live wherever. But once I can get that, can finesse that, then I feel like I could write my books from anywhere on the map as long as I have my income together. Vegas is so grimy, right? Um, like if I look at the world over, I can't pick one spot I would want to move to, not in the United States. It's just the times that we're in, Trina, unfortunately. It's so much going on in the world around us. Like that's another thing that preacher was talking about today, or the pastor rather. She was talking about how we're experiencing more floods. Every other day, one of these planes are falling out of the sky. They're catching on fire. There's so much going on in this world that it's like you don't know whether you're coming and going, and all we can do as Christians is stay prayed up. Because I mean, tough times don't last, tough people do, right? It was nicer 10 years ago, but now it's just expensive and not much to do outside the strip. To retire here would be nice on certain times for sure, Trina. I think though, shoot, I think Los Angeles, when we used to go to Los Angeles, it used to feel so lively, and that was just the culture and the atmosphere, right? It was just like it just felt like it was so thick that if you go to LA, you're gonna see just whatever out there, right? And it just felt so lively. Now when you go to LA, I went to a couple of weeks ago. I went to LA Live to Fixins, and that was I like to digress, so stick with me. But that was probably like one of the only times that I felt like, okay, I love this vibe. And last year we went to what is it called? We went to this brunch spot. I forget the name of it, but it was really nice. We were singing. It was a really nice vibe at this brunch spot. The food wasn't good, but we really had a good time. It was me, my sisters, and a family friend, Pips on La Brea. I don't know if you heard of that, Trina, but Pips on La Brea. It was a really good time. I would want to go back there on a Sunday. It was really nice. It was a lot of people there for their birthday, and they had R&B playing, and we were singing, and we were eating. And we're just, I don't drink anymore, so I didn't get to partake in the mimosas, but we had a very good time there. Um, then we also, like I said, we went to Fixin' Soul Kitchen, and that was another very good experience in LA. But aside for those two times, me going to LA, I just felt like there was nothing there. Like it was like, where's the soul? The soul is missing. The colorfulness that was here is gone. And so, yeah. A lot of people have left Los Angeles and left California. There was like a big flight around the pandemic to places like Texas and Arizona and Vegas. And a lot of reasons why people go to Vegas is because people might still have family or connections in California and they can get back here, and without really getting on a plane or anything like that. LA is a vibe as a whole. I miss Cali. I can't afford it right now, right? And that's another thing too. Like, I'm like, what if I leave Cali and move and then I want to come back? you know, I know a lot of people like that. It's hard for them to come back because now they can't afford it. They can't find housing or jobs like they could before. So, and that's so unfortunate that a lot of people left because, their finances. But guys, we've been on quite a while. I thank you guys. I didn't know if I was going to come on tonight, but I thank you guys for joining me. Let's vibe like this again for sure. If you didn't hit the like button, please hit it. And if you didn't subscribe, please subscribe to my channel so we can get into conversations like this again. I have a few different ideas for lives. I don't know what my live will be about tomorrow, but I tend to like to come on like earlier in the afternoon when it's not too late. This is late for me today. Also, I like to come live with my video camera on. I didn't today because I'm chilling. I'm chilling in my bedroom. I don't know if you guys can hear the fan. I got the mic on. So let me know if you hear a lot of noise in the background real quick. So in subsequent lives, I'll turn the fan off. But yes, I had a good time talking to you guys tonight. I hope, I pray to God that I didn't say anything that I wasn't supposed to say. If you guys need more clarification, you should always speak to your pastors or your people who you go to for questions like this. If you don't feel like I answered something correctly, if you don't feel like what you read in the Bible that you understood it correctly, always pray about it, because even a pastor can tell you something wrong, and especially somebody who's not in the church could tell you something wrong. Non-believers or people who don't read the Bible or who don't go to church, never listen to them because they don't have the same belief and the same walk with God that you do. If you're going to ask anybody, always ask somebody who loves God, who puts God first, who reads the word, and who has some level of understanding. A lot of people will say, oh, those pastors, they just steal money. They don't even go to church. They don't tithe, will never understand tithing, don't even care about other people. So don't listen to them. Listen to people who actually tithe and who can actually testify that, listen, I was down to nothing. I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. I gave my last and God helped me. I don't know where the money came from, but it was coming. I'm one of those people that can tell you that. I have not worked in 2 years. Okay. And I don't have a rich family. So God has been taking care of me. So I can tell you that. All right. I'm going to check that out right now. Actually, Matthew, you guys have a good night and stay blessed. Have a blessed week. God bless you all. Thank you for watching my live. Have a good night.